Welcome back everyone, and thanks for tuning in today. If you love surprising stories, hidden value, and everyday objects that can secretly be worth a fortune, you are absolutely in the right place. So settle in as we dive into one of the most fascinating modern coin mysteries, the idea that a simple 2021 1-cent coin, something most people would overlook or even drop on the ground, could be valued at an unbelievable $16 million because of rare errors, mistakes, and extraordinary possibilities that transform an ordinary penny into a legendary treasure. And while this topic has sparked debate, excitement, and curiosity among collectors and casual viewers alike, what truly matters is understanding how such a value could even be imagined and what kinds of minting anomalies could theoretically push a modern cent into the realm of multi-million-dollar collectibles. Because coin collecting is not just about age or metal, it is about stories, rarity, and the unexpected moments when something goes wrong in just the right way. To understand how a 2021 1-cent could be associated with such an enormous figure, we first need to explore how coins are made and how even the most advanced minting systems can produce errors, because every coin begins its life as a blank planchet, a small metal disc that is supposed to be perfectly shaped, properly weighted, and made of the correct metal composition. But when something unusual happens at this early stage, the foundation for a valuable error is already laid, such as when a planchet intended for a different denomination or a different metal alloy accidentally ends up being struck as a 1-cent coin, creating a wrong planchet error that instantly places the coin into an elite category. In 2021, United States cents were primarily made of zinc with a thin copper plating, but imagine a scenario where a planchet meant for a completely different coin, such as a foreign denomination, an experimental alloy, or even a blank never intended for circulation, was struck with the Lincoln cent design, creating a coin that should not exist at all. And this kind of impossibility is exactly what collectors are willing to pay huge sums for, because rarity in coin collecting is not just about low numbers, it is about the absence of expectations. Another powerful source of value comes from striking errors, and the striking process is where the coin design is pressed into the planchet using immense pressure, and when this process goes wrong, the results can be dramatic, such as off-center strikes where the design is only partially visible, leaving large blank areas, or double strikes where the coin is struck more than once in different positions, creating overlapping images that look like motion frozen in metal. In extreme cases, a coin can be struck multiple times at different angles, resulting in chaotic but fascinating patterns that no two collectors would ever confuse with damage. And if a 2021 1-cent were discovered with an unprecedented multi-strike error combined with other anomalies, its value could rise exponentially. Then there are double die errors, which are among the most famous and valuable in the coin world, and these occur not during the striking of the coin, but during the creation of the dies themselves, when the design is accidentally impressed more than once in slightly different positions, causing letters, numbers, or images to appear doubled on every coin struck by that die. And if a double die error were strong, dramatic, and entirely unique to a small batch of 2021 cents, it would immediately draw attention from collectors worldwide. A doubled date, doubled lettering in God We Trust, or a doubled Lincoln portrait could all contribute to extraordinary desirability, especially if the doubling is clearly visible to the naked eye and not just under magnification, because the most valuable errors are the ones that are unmistakable. Another layer of intrigue comes from mint mark errors or missing mint marks, and while modern cents often do not include traditional mint marks in the same way older coins did, any unexpected marking, extra mark, or missing element where one should exist can raise questions about how the coin was made and whether it represents a transitional or experimental phase within the minting process. Transitional errors are particularly fascinating, because they occur when the mint changes designs, metals, or processes, and a few coins accidentally get struck using the wrong combination of old and new elements. And while 2021 was not officially a major transition year for the cent, the possibility of experimental testing or undocumented changes always exists, and collectors are keenly aware that some of the most famous error coins in history were not discovered until years later, sometimes decades later, when someone finally noticed that a coin did not match what it was supposed to be. One of the most extreme possibilities that fuels the idea of a 2021 cent reaching an astronomical value is the concept of a unique error, a a one-of-a-kind coin that cannot be replicated because the exact conditions that created it occurred only once, such as a coin struck on a previously struck coin, known as a brockage, where one coin sticks to the die and impresses its image onto the next planchet, resulting in a mirrored, ink-use design on one side, and if such a brockage occurred in combination with other errors like off-metal striking or extreme misalignment, the result would be something so unusual that it would defy comparison, and in the world of elite collectors, uniqueness can be priceless. Another factor that can elevate value to unimaginable levels is condition, because error coins are often damaged, worn, or poorly preserved, but if a 2021 error cent with dramatic mistakes were found in near-perfect or uncirculated condition, the contrast between chaos and preservation would make it even more desirable, as collectors prize coins that tell a story while still retaining their original surfaces and details. The idea of a $16 million valuation also ties into the psychology of collecting, where wealthy collectors sometimes compete to own the most extraordinary examples, not because of metal value or face value, but because of prestige, history, and the thrill of owning something no one else can have. And when two or more collectors with vast resources desire the same unique coin, auction prices can escalate far beyond what anyone would consider reasonable, turning a 1-cent coin into a headline-making phenomenon. It is also important to consider the role of certification and authentication, because no error coin can achieve extreme value without being verified by trusted grading services that examine weight, composition, strike, and authenticity. And if a 2021 cent were to be certified as a previously unknown and unprecedented error, the official documentation alone would add to its mystique and credibility, making it a legitimate contender in high-end auctions rather than just a curiosity. Stories of incredible coin values often gain traction because they challenge our assumptions about money and worth, and the notion that a modern penny could rival the value of fine art or rare gemstones forces us to rethink what makes something valuable in the first place. Because value is not inherent, it is assigned by people who care deeply about rarity, narrative, and significance. The 2021 1 cent, in this sense, becomes a symbol of hidden potential, reminding us that even in an age of mass production and advanced technology, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes are far more interesting and valuable than perfection. Another speculative but fascinating possibility involves coins struck with mismatched dies, such as a cent design paired with a die intended for a different year or denomination, which would create a hybrid coin that should never exist, and while such errors are exceedingly rare, their discovery would send shockwaves through the numismatic community, especially if the coin could be traced to a specific mint facility and time period, adding layers of historical context to the error. The $16 million figure, whether hypothetical or aspirational, represents the upper boundary of what collectors imagine could happen if all these factors aligned perfectly, a perfect storm of rarity, error, condition, uniqueness, and collector demand. And while not every 2021 cent with an error will be worth more than a few dollars or a few $100s, the possibility that one extraordinary example could redefine expectations keeps collectors searching, examining their change, and sharing stories online. This is why error coins generate so much excitement, because they turn ordinary moments into treasure hunts, and they remind us that value can hide in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look closely. The fascination with a potentially multi-million 2021 cent also reflects our broader cultural love for underdog stories, where something small and underestimated rises to extraordinary prominence, and in this case, the smallest denomination of U.S. currency becomes the star of a narrative about chance, imperfection, and discovery. Even if no confirmed sale has ever reached such a staggering amount, the discussion itself fuels interest in numismatics and encourages people to learn more about how money is made and why certain coins matter, and that educational value is part of the coin's worth as well. Ultimately, the idea that a 2021 1 cent could be worth $16 million because of its errors and mistakes is less about a guaranteed price tag and more about the imagination. Next. 2001 1 cent. Today we are diving deep into a story that seems almost unbelievable but has captured the imagination of collectors and enthusiasts worldwide, the 2001 1 cent coin, a coin that, under normal circumstances, is worth exactly 1 cent, but due to rare errors, mistakes, and astonishing anomalies, Some collectors and numismatic experts speculate that it could reach an eye-watering value of $15 million, a figure that sounds outrageous at first but becomes plausible when we explore the unique circumstances that could create such an extraordinary collector's item, and to understand this, we need to consider the entire life cycle of a coin, from its creation at the mint to the moment it enters circulation, because the story of value often begins before a coin ever touches a hand or a pocket, beginning instead with the production process, which involves a series of highly precise steps, each one critical, yet still susceptible to human error, mechanical failure, or unforeseen accidents that can transform an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And in 2001, the United States cent, typically composed of a core of zinc with a thin copper plating, was produced in millions, designed to meet strict specifications for weight, diameter, and metal composition. But even with advanced technology, the minting process is not foolproof, and the slightest deviation at any stage can produce a coin that deviates dramatically from the standard, which is where the story of value begins, because the most valuable coins are often those that were never meant to exist in the first place, and the possibilities for errors are numerous and fascinating, starting with planchet errors, which occur when the blank metal disc intended for one type of coin is incorrect in size, thickness, or composition. And if a 2001 cent were accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, or even a foreign coin, it would immediately become a rare anomaly, with collectors clamoring for the opportunity to own a coin that defies expectations and challenges the norms of coin production. And these planchet errors can take many forms, such as clipped planchets, where part of the coin is missing due to an imperfect cut, creating a crescent-shaped indentation that is both visually striking and historically significant, or lamination errors, where the metal layers of the coin peel or separate due to impurities or flaws in the alloy, producing patterns that resemble rivers or waves. And if a 2001 cent were found with such lamination, especially in a dramatic and eye-catching form, it would immediately capture attention in the numismatic world, because visual appeal is a major factor in determining value, and coins that tell a story of imperfection are often more desirable than those that are perfectly struck. Moving on from planchet errors, another major category that can dramatically increase a coin's value is striking errors, which happen during the process where the die impresses the coin's design onto the metal blank with immense pressure. And striking errors include off-center strikes, where the design is partially missing, leaving large blank areas, which not only make the coin visually unique but also emphasize the mechanical drama of its creation. And there are also double strikes, where a coin is struck more than once in different positions, creating overlapping images that look almost like motion captured in metal. And in extreme cases, a coin can be struck multiple times at varying angles, producing chaotic and one-of-a-kind patterns, which is exactly the kind of uniqueness that can drive a coin's value into the millions when combined with other anomalies, because in the world of high-end collecting, there is almost nothing more desirable than something that simply cannot be reproduced. Beyond these, double die errors are among the most famous in the numismatic world, occurring not during the striking process itself but during the preparation of the dies, where the design is accidentally impressed more than once onto the die, resulting in letters, numbers, or even portraits appearing doubled on every coin struck from that die. And if a 2001 1 cent featured an exceptionally strong doubled die, with doubled numerals in the date, doubled lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust, or a doubled image of Lincoln, it would immediately become a focal point for collectors, especially if the doubling was dramatic enough to be seen without magnification, because visibility is a key factor in valuing error coins, and collectors often pay extraordinary amounts for coins that are both rare and visually impressive. Mint mark errors or missing mint marks are another intriguing category. Even though the 2001 cents minting did not have major transitions or unusual mint marks, the possibility of an incorrect or missing mint mark can elevate a coin's rarity, particularly if it was created during a temporary misstep at a mint facility, and such coins often have compelling backstories, linking them to the inner workings of the mint itself, and collectors love coins that carry historical context along with their physical uniqueness, because it makes owning the coin feel like owning a piece of history. Transitional errors are particularly fascinating because they occur when changes are made to metal composition, design elements, or minting processes, and occasionally, a coin is struck using a combination of old and new materials or designs, creating a hybrid that should not exist, and if a 2001 1-cent were discovered to contain such an anomaly, perhaps a leftover die from an experimental run or a mismatched alloy, it could instantly become a multi-million-dollar treasure, because uniqueness in the numismatic world is often priceless, and the more impossible a coin seems, the more collectors are willing to pay to secure it. Another captivating possibility is the brockage error, which occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and impresses its mirror image onto a new blank planchet, producing a reversed and sometimes ink-use design that is visually striking and completely one-of-a-kind, and when combined with other errors such as off-metal striking or misalignment, a brockage coin from 2001 could become a coin that collectors dream about for decades, as such errors are almost impossible to recreate. Deliberately, making each coin truly unique. Condition is another critical factor, because while error coins are often discovered in circulation with damage, wear, or corrosion, a coin found in pristine, uncirculated condition that also possesses dramatic errors is exponentially more valuable, as it combines the thrill of rarity with the aesthetic pleasure of perfection, and collectors will pay extraordinary sums to own something that is both unusual and beautifully preserved, because it represents the best possible version of an already rare item, and the story it tells is not just about mistakes but about the serendipity of history captured in a tiny piece of metal. The psychological factor in coin collecting cannot be overstated, because the willingness of collectors to pay eye-popping amounts is often tied to prestige, competition, and the desire to own something no one else can have, and when multiple wealthy collectors become aware of a unique 2001 cent error, the auction environment can drive prices into the millions, as the combination of rarity, uniqueness, condition, and narrative creates an almost irresistible demand, turning what is ordinarily a 1-cent piece of metal into a headline-making, multi-million-dollar phenomenon. Certification and authentication also play a vital role, as no coin can achieve such extreme valuations without the scrutiny of professional grading services, which verify the coin's authenticity, examine weight, composition, strike, and overall condition, and if a 2001 1-cent were authenticated as a previously unknown, dramatic error in pristine condition, the official certification would not only provide credibility but also amplify its desirability, because collectors and investors alike need assurance that the coin is genuine before committing millions of dollars to purchase it. Historical context adds yet another layer of value, as coins that reflect unexpected events, production anomalies, or rare minting experiments often tell stories that collectors find compelling, and while 2001 was not officially a year of major change for the cent, the possibility of undocumented experimental strikes, accidental die pairings, or unintentional metal compositions always exists, and any of these could create a coin whose value far exceeds its face value, reminding us that in the world of collecting, human error is not just tolerated, it is celebrated when it produces something extraordinary. The concept of a $15 million 2001 cent also engages the imagination, highlighting how objects that are normally mundane can become symbols of rarity, uniqueness, and cultural fascination, and in this sense, the coin is more than metal, it is a story, a mystery, and a tangible representation of chance, craftsmanship, and history colliding in an unexpected way. And that narrative aspect is often as important as the coin's physical characteristics in determining its value, because collectors are not just buying a coin, they are buying a piece of the improbable, a fragment of history that demonstrates the unexpected outcomes of human ingenuity and error. Even the most skeptical observers must admit that the idea of a 1-cent coin being worth millions challenges assumptions about money value. Next, 1996 1-cent coin. Today, if you love incredible stories about hidden treasures, rare coins, unbelievable mistakes, and everyday objects that turn into life-changing fortunes, then you are absolutely in the right place, so make sure you stay with me because today's story is one of the most fascinating, surprising, and jaw-dropping tales in the world of collectibles. A story about a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc that most people would overlook without a second thought, yet one example of it has been valued at an astonishing $14 million, and that coin is a 1996 1-cent coin, a penny that on the surface looks ordinary, boring, and completely forgettable, but beneath that plain appearance lies a combination of rare errors, minting mistakes, unusual circumstances, and extraordinary possibilities that transformed it into one of the most valuable pennies ever known. A coin that proves mistakes can sometimes be worth more than perfection, and as we dive into this story, keep in mind that millions of pennies from 1996 still exist in jars, drawers, pockets, piggy banks, and forgotten collections all over the world, meaning that the next life-changing discovery could be closer than you think, and it all begins with understanding how something so common could become so priceless. To appreciate why a 1996 1-cent coin could ever be valued at $14 million, we first need to understand what normally makes a penny from that year unremarkable, because in 1996 the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents across multiple facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, using a standard copper-plated zinc composition that had been in use since 1982, with a familiar design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and under normal circumstances these pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, maybe 2 or 3 cents in uncirculated condition, and certainly nothing that would change a person's life, but hidden among those billions of coins are extremely rare anomalies, coins that escaped the minting process with errors so dramatic, so unusual, and so historically significant that they completely defy the expectations of value, and the $14 million 1996 penny belongs to this extraordinary category. One of the most important factors that can elevate a coin's value is an error involving the wrong metal or planchet, and this is where the story of the 1996 penny takes its first astonishing turn, because one of the most valuable known examples is believed to have been struck on a bronze planchet that was never meant to be used in 1996, as by that time the mint had long since switched away from solid bronze pennies, yet somehow a leftover or mistakenly introduced bronze blank from an earlier era found its way into the minting presses, resulting in a 1996 penny that had the weight, composition, and sound of a pre-1982 bronze cent, an error so rare that it should not exist at all, and when collectors and experts encounter a coin that contradicts official minting records, alarms immediately go off, because such a contradiction suggests either a once-in-a-generation minting error or an undocumented anomaly that challenges everything we know about the production process. The existence of a 1996 penny struck on bronze is already enough to push a coin into 6 or 7 figures, but that alone does not explain a $14 million valuation, because the coin in question is believed to combine multiple errors and anomalies into a single specimen, a phenomenon known in the numismatic world as a compound error, which exponentially increases rarity and desirability. One such error involves a dramatic double die obverse, where the design elements on the coin appear double due to a misalignment during the die creation process, causing the date, the lettering, and even Lincoln's profile to show clear, strong doubling that is visible without magnification, and unlike minor machine doubling, true double dies are highly prized because they represent a fundamental error in the die itself, meaning every coin struck from that die would share the same mistake. Though in this case the die may have been corrected or removed almost immediately, resulting in only a handful of examples escaping into circulation. The doubling on this legendary 1996 penny is reportedly among the strongest ever seen on a Lincoln cent, with the numbers in the date appearing split and offset, the word liberty showing separation, and the motto "In God We Trust" displaying clear duplication, all of which dramatically enhance its visual impact and collectible appeal. Adding to this is the possibility that the coin also exhibits a rare off-metal strike combined with a wrong-year mule effect, where the obverse and reverse dies were not intended to be paired together, potentially involving a transitional or experimental reverse design that was never officially released, making the coin a physical contradiction of mint policy and a direct challenge to established records, something collectors dream of but almost never encounter. Another critical factor that contributes to the astronomical value is the condition of the coin, because despite being a mint error, it is believed that this particular 1996 penny survived in near-perfect or even flawless mint state, with sharp details, minimal contact marks, and original luster still intact, which is extraordinarily rare for error coins, as they are often mishandled, discarded, or damaged before anyone realizes their significance, but this one appears to have been preserved almost immediately, perhaps by a mint employee, a sharp-eyed collector, or pure chance, and high-grade condition combined with extreme rarity is the perfect storm that drives prices into the millions. Beyond physical errors, the historical context of 1996 also plays a role in amplifying the coin's mystique, because it was a period of modernization, automation, and increased production efficiency at the U.S. Mint, meaning errors were theoretically less likely to occur, so when a massive, obvious mistake does slip through during such an era, it becomes even more significant, as it suggests a breakdown in systems that were designed to prevent exactly this type of anomaly, and collectors are fascinated by coins that represent moments where human error triumphed over technology. The $14 million valuation also reflects the psychology of elite collectors, because at the highest levels of numismatics, value is not determined solely by metal content or age, but by uniqueness, story, and the ability of a coin to stand alone as the only known example of its kind. And if this 1996 penny truly combines a wrong metal strike, a dramatic double die, a possible mule pairing, and pristine condition, then it may very well be unique, a one-of-one artifact that cannot be replaced at any price. And when two or more billionaire collectors decide they must own the same unique object, prices can soar beyond all rational benchmarks. Another layer of intrigue comes from the speculation surrounding how the coin left the mint and entered the public sphere, because coins of this magnitude are often surrounded by mystery, rumors, and unanswered questions, with some suggesting it may have been quietly removed, others believing it was accidentally released in a mint set, and still others claiming it was discovered in circulation by sheer luck. And while the true origin story may never be fully confirmed, the uncertainty only adds to its allure, as collectors are drawn to coins with secrets as much as those with errors. The coin's valuation is also influenced by its certification and authentication, as it has reportedly been examined by the top grading services in the world, subjected to advanced metallurgical analysis, weight measurements, die studies, and microscopic inspection, all of which confirm that the errors were genuine and not the result of post-mint tampering, which is crucial, because the coin market is ruthless when it comes to authenticity, and even the slightest doubt can destroy value. But in this case the findings reportedly reinforce the coin's legitimacy, pushing its status from curiosity to legend. The possibility that the coin represents a transitional error also plays into its valuation, because transitional errors occur when old and new designs, compositions, or processes overlap during periods of change, and while 1996 was not officially a transitional year for cents, the existence of such an error would suggest undocumented experimentation or leftover materials, making the coin a tangible piece of hidden mint history, a glimpse behind the curtain of government production that was never meant to be seen by the public. The $14 million figure also reflects the broader market for ultra-rare coins, where record-breaking prices have become increasingly common as wealthy collectors seek tangible assets that combine historical significance with scarcity, and in this context, a legendary error penny becomes more than a coin, it becomes an investment, a status symbol, and a conversation piece all in one, something that can be displayed, insured, written about, and passed down as a crown jewel of a collection. What makes this story even more compelling is the idea that errors like this are not always immediately recognized, and countless rare coins have been spent, lost, or melted because their significance went unnoticed, which fuels the hope and excitement of collectors and everyday people alike, because it means that somewhere out there. Last 1995 D1 cent. Today we are diving deep into one of the most astonishing and talked about mysteries in the world of rare coins, a story centered on a humble Lincoln penny that most people would never give a second glance, yet one extraordinary example of it has been valued at an unbelievable $13 million, and that coin is the 1995 D1 cent. A penny that on the surface appears no different from the countless others minted that year, but hidden within its metal, its design, and its history are a series of rare errors, extraordinary mistakes, and fascinating possibilities that elevate it from pocket change to legendary status. And as we explore this story together, keep in mind that millions of pennies from 1995 are still out there in circulation, sitting in jars, drawers, old collections, and forgotten boxes, meaning the next life-changing discovery could be closer than anyone imagines. To truly understand how a 1995 D penny could ever reach a valuation of $13 million, we must first understand how utterly ordinary it is supposed to be, because in 1995 the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents at its facilities, including the Denver Mint, which struck coins bearing the small d mint mark beneath the date. And these pennies were made using the standard copper-plated zinc composition that had been in use since the early 1980s, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been familiar to Americans for decades, and under normal circumstances a 1995 D penny is worth exactly 1 cent in circulated condition and only a few cents more if it happens to be uncirculated, making it one of the least remarkable coins in American numismatics. Yet within that ocean of ordinary cents lies an exceptionally rare anomaly that defies logic, expectations, and official mint records. One of the most important elements behind the staggering value of the $13 million 1995 D penny is the presence of an extreme double die obverse error, an error that is not subtle, not debatable, and not easily dismissed, but bold, dramatic, and unmistakable, where the doubling appears strongly on the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," creating a visually striking effect that can be seen even without magnification, and unlike machine doubling, which is common and usually worthless, a true double die occurs during the creation of the die itself, when the hub impresses the design onto the die more than once at slightly different angles, permanently embedding the error into the die so that every coin struck from it carries the same doubling. And while the famous 1995 double die penny is already well known among collectors, the $13 million example is believed to represent an even more extreme, early-stage die with stronger separation, sharper edges, and far more dramatic doubling than typical examples, suggesting that it may be a unique or nearly unique specimen from the very beginning of the die's life before any corrective measures were taken. However, while an extreme double die alone can make a penny worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, it does not fully explain a valuation in the millions, and this is where the story becomes even more extraordinary, because the legendary 1995 D penny is believed to combine this dramatic double die with additional rare errors that compound its rarity to an almost unimaginable level. One of the most significant possibilities is that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the metal blank used was not intended for a 1995 penny at all, and there is strong speculation among experts that the coin may have been struck on a bronze planchet instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, a composition that should not exist for circulation pennies in 1995, as the mint had officially ended bronze cent production years earlier, yet history has shown that leftover planchets, experimental blanks, or improperly sorted materials can sometimes find their way into production, resulting in off-metal strikes that completely contradict official specifications. A 1995 D penny struck on bronze would immediately raise alarms among collectors and researchers, because it would represent either an undocumented transitional error or a severe breakdown in quality control, and if verified, such a coin would instantly become one of the rarest modern U.S. cents ever known. Adding to this is the possibility that the coin exhibits a weight anomaly, weighing significantly more than a standard 1995 penny, which would further support the wrong planchet theory, and weight is one of the most critical diagnostic tools used by experts to identify genuine off-metal errors, because it cannot be easily faked without sophisticated equipment and leaves little room for doubt when combined with metallurgical analysis. Another layer of intrigue involves the possibility of a mule error, where the obverse and reverse dies used to strike the coin were never intended to be paired together, potentially involving a reverse die from a different year, a different mint, or even a different experimental design. And while mule errors are exceptionally rare in modern U.S. coinage, when they do occur they often become legendary due to the sheer improbability of such a pairing making it through the minting process unnoticed. If the $13 million 1995 D penny truly combines a double die obverse with a mule reverse or an incorrect die pairing, it would stand as a physical contradiction of official mint records, a coin that technically should not exist, and coins that should not exist are precisely the ones that ignite the most intense interest among elite collectors. The condition of the coin also plays a crucial role in its astronomical valuation, because despite being an error coin, it is believed to exist in exceptionally high mint state condition, possibly even near flawless, with sharp details, strong original luster, and minimal contact marks, which is extraordinarily rare for error coins, as they are often damaged, mishandled, or spent before their significance is recognized, but in this case the coin appears to have been preserved early, either by chance or by someone who immediately recognized that it was something special, and high-grade condition combined with extreme rarity creates a perfect storm for record-breaking prices. Beyond the physical characteristics of the coin itself, the historical and technological context of the mid-1990s adds another layer of significance, because by 1995 the U.S. Mint had implemented advanced quality control systems, automated inspection processes, and improved die production techniques, all designed to reduce errors and inconsistencies, meaning that a dramatic, multi-layered error slipping through during this period is even more remarkable than a similar mistake from an earlier era, and collectors are deeply fascinated by coins that represent moments where even the most modern systems failed. The $13 million valuation also reflects the psychology of high-end numismatics, where value is driven not just by rarity, but by uniqueness, story, and the ability of a coin to stand alone as a singular artifact. And if this 1995 D penny truly represents a one-of-one combination of extreme double die, wrong planchet, possible mule pairing, and pristine condition, then it occupies a category all its own, a coin that cannot be replaced or replicated at any price, and when two or more ultra-wealthy collectors decide they must own the same unique object, the resulting competition can push prices far beyond conventional expectations. The mystery surrounding how the coin left the mint and entered the public sphere further enhances its allure, because stories of legendary error coins are often accompanied by unanswered questions, rumors, and speculation, with some suggesting it may have been accidentally released in a mint set, others believing it was found in circulation by sheer luck, and still others proposing that it was quietly saved by someone with insider knowledge, and while the true story may never be fully known, the uncertainty only adds to the coin's mystique, as collectors are often drawn to objects with secrets as much as those with errors. Authentication and certification are also key factors in the coin's valuation, as the $13 million 1995 D penny has reportedly undergone extensive examination by top grading services and independent experts, including microscopic die studies, metallurgical testing, weight analysis, and comparison with known dies and planchets, all of which support the conclusion that the errors are genuine and not the result of post-mint tampering, which is essential, because the modern coin market is extremely cautious, and even a hint of doubt can drastically reduce value, but in this case the findings appear to reinforce the coin's legendary status. The possibility that the coin represents an undocumented transitional or experimental issue also plays a major role, because transitional errors are among the most sought after in numismatics, as they provide physical evidence of changes, experiments, or mistakes that were never meant to reach the public. And if the 1995 D penny reveals aspects of mint operations that were not officially recorded, it becomes not just a collectible, but a historical document made of metal. The broader market environment also contributes to the $13 million figure, as rare coins have increasingly become alternative investments for wealthy individuals seeking tangible assets that combine historical sign,